Hello guys, in today's video I want to talk about what's going on in China at the moment, the state of the economy, the manufacturing industry since the tariff war began, but actually what we're seeing, the decline in China's manufacturing sector, that actually started long before this tariff war even began and before Trump got into office. It was actually lockdown which caused orders to grind to a halt overnight. And since we came out of that, the industry has been very slow to revive. So many factories, a big chunk of China's manufacturing sector went out of business since COVID. And in the intervening years, there have been more and more businesses closing in manufacturing, but also in hospitality and other sectors affected by the loss of business that they face as a result of the manufacturing industry collapsing, because that's had a knock-on effect across the economy. But the other reason is that since China's manufacturing boom hit its peak, and the workers who were initially lowly paid sweatshop workers with few rights, it became a workers' market, and they were able to demand higher wages and workers' rights. And this meant that cost of production suddenly shot up, and China was no longer the world's sweatshop. It wasn't quite as appealing anymore for our Western corporations to have their goods manufactured in China, because the reason they went to China was to take advantage of the sweatshop labor. We've always, since globalization, we've always gone overseas to find the cheapest labor. And that meant taking advantage of a population of workers with low salaries and poor rights. So when China ceased being this source of cheap sweatshop labor for the world, Western corporations took their orders elsewhere. They'd already done this long before the tariff war. So the first stop, I think, was Vietnam. A lot of clothes that were formerly made in China were suddenly being made in Vietnam. And some enterprising Chinese factory owners, instead of going broke, they closed up shop in China and they moved to Vietnam and opened Vietnamese factories. So Trump's tariff war has taken an already bad situation for my people and made it worse. And it's almost been like twisting the knife for the Chinese economy. And I think Trump's reasoning has been twofold. It's partly about making America great again, bringing back production and jobs and boosting the economy in America, among the working class. That's part of it, because the tariffs force American companies to reevaluate where they're getting their goods made, and it gives them incentive to bring production back to the US. And that's already been happening. There's already been a resurgence in American factory jobs. So Trump is delivering on his promise in that area already. And I think this is only set to continue. So that's great for the MAGA movement, because this is what they voted for. But I think there's another aspect to this which I think is actually bigger than trying to revive the American manufacturing industry, because I think that's only going to happen to a limited degree. I still think most Americans don't want to work in factories. The Chinese are very different. The factory working class in China is much bigger than I think it will ever be in America in our lifetimes. I think the tariffs are possibly more about moving the orders that have been going to China to another country where they'll be paying a lot less. I think that's a bigger part of it, because some firms will consider getting goods made in America because they can't order them from China, but many more will actually just consider going elsewhere to a cheaper country. There's always a country that will do it for less, and this is a cycle that's been going round and round since perhaps the 80s, when globalization started becoming the main operating model for corporations. It's always been about finding the cheapest labor, and naturally, once you find a country where they can deliver what you want and you do a lot of business with them, their conditions will improve and their salaries will grow and the labor will cost more and it will become less attractive, and then you have to move on to another one. It's always been about exploiting poor people in poor countries. Even if you go back within my lifetime here in the UK, I was born in 1972. We had a manufacturing industry here at that time. We made clothes here in the UK and they were beautifully made. Made in England was a sign of quality, but it wasn't that expensive either, because it was normal. Back in the day, if you went into Marks and Spencer, everything was made in England. But I think it was around the early 80s when production moved to Hong Kong, and it was very convenient because it was a British colony. And so the labor there was a fraction of what it was here. And with the rise of the shipping containers, my mom was in the shipping industry in the 80s. It was the thing to do. And that then made everybody drop their UK production and get their goods made in Hong Kong. And then it was Taiwan. And one after another, we would see economies boom as a result of manufacturing for Western corporations. And then all of a sudden, they'd become too expensive, and these companies would move on to the next country. So as well as Hong Kong, we had Taiwan, Japan, Mexico, so many others that I'm not going to list now. So I think what Trump is doing right now with the tariffs is putting his foot on the accelerator to make this happen again and get everybody to move production out of China to the next best place. And I also think that he's stepping on the accelerator because this is happening at a time when the US is at risk of losing its position of dominance in the world, as China has been a threat to the US, we all know, for decades. Its rise has been unlike anything else in history for any nation. And it was, some would say it already has knocked the US off the top spot. It depends how you're measuring it. This has been a huge worry to America, and it's the job of any US president to do something about this. I don't think it would have made a difference whether it was the Democrats or Republicans in office. I think part of any US president's role right now is to try and keep the US in the top spot, obviously, right? So the way China retaliated by giving away all the secrets of the European luxury brands for whom they manufacture, because these brands are a big part of the US economy in terms of all the shareholdings. I think that was a very clever way to retaliate. I think it was intelligent and devious, cheeky, and peaceful. So I think it was a very Chinese way to respond to this. And it has brought back business for a lot of the factory owners who are now selling directly to consumer. And it really has hurt the companies who were taking credit for their work. It's like when people bullied me. I got racially abused when I was a kid in the 80s, and I never fought back. I never retaliated with violence because it wasn't my style, but also because I was tiny. I wouldn't have stood a chance. So I used my wit, and I found the best way to get back at a bully would be to humiliate them by coming up with a clever way to totally take the piss out of them and get the whole class laughing at them instead of me. It worked wonders because they think twice before messing with me again. And so the only ones who would were the ones who could take it as good as they could dish it. And then we'd become friends. So anyway, there you have my thoughts on Trump's tariffs on China and the bigger picture behind that and how I feel about it. What about you? Do let me know in the comments and let me know your thoughts on anything I've said in this video, whether you agree or disagree with me. And do give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already doing so. And if you enjoyed this video, do give this one a watch too. Thank you.